Well, welcome back to another episode of Super J Recap. I'm Kyle. I'm joined this week by a special guest.
I'm your King Ginger from Heel Turn Radio
All right,
and
so
D&DDT and a bunch of other stuff.
yeah, so much stuff. Like, I'm so glad that you were able to get on this episode. And we are going to review, for the first episode, we are going to review Dos Caras versus El Samurai from the 1995 Super J Cup. Some kind of initial thoughts, like what did you think?
All right, first of all, the music, fire. Hot fire, both matches.
Yep.
Mwah. There's nothing like Japanese 1990s entrance music. It's so good. I feel it in my soul. It's just, it's really good. I think initially too, I'm not overly rote in El Samurai. We were talking about this before the podcast. He's someone that's always been on my list of wrestlers I should be more familiar with, but I'm always like, I'd rather watch this or I'd rather watch that. I'm an all Japan heavyweight guy, so I really need to spend the time. I mean, I have a lot of New Japan War, FMW. I have a lot of these juniors matches, and I just haven't spent the time with them.
Okay.
So he's someone who always pops up. Osaka Pro, Michiniku Pro. I just haven't spent a lot of time watching him. Dos Caras, I'm a little more familiar with. I haven't seen a ton of his work, but I knew he was kind of in that same secondary class beneath Blue Demon. He was like a contemporary of Mil Mascaras, which definitely shows in this match.
Yes.
I think that I had no idea as well that El Samurai held the WWF Light Heavyweight belt at this time, which is just like shows how little that belt mattered.
Yeah, they just forgot about it and just were like, yeah, whatever. Like, because I think Taka had won it, took it back with him to Japan when they weren't really using him, and then they decided to bring him back. I think that was how the timeline went.
Yeah, it ends up somehow being on around Sasuke's waist before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So big shot.
Yeah, because this is, like, I always forget, this is the tournament that basically leads into the J Crown.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, I keep making notes of, like, this person's this champion, this person's that champion. It's like, oh, yeah, he was. So our two competitors are Dos Caras, who's representing CMLL, and El Samurai, who's representing New Japan Pro Wrestling. Nice little show of respect at the beginning. Then Dos Caras, clean break from Dos Caras. There was like some really interesting submissions and stuff from Dos Caras.
I thought Dos Caras worked like a perfect maestro style.
Yep.
I think maybe it was because he doesn't, at this advanced age, he's a pretty old guy at this point. He's got to be pushing late 40s.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He looks great.
Yep.
He looks phenomenal. I mean, hey, compared to El Samurai, he does look like a body guy, because El Samurai, not a body guy.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, too, if that style doesn't work really well in that match, because El Samurai, I don't know, maybe he looks to push the pace. He never really gets out in neutral, in my opinion. But there are a couple really great transitions into somewhat, I mean, if you watch a lot of Maestro style in CMLL, AAA, and the like, I think you've probably seen a lot of these holds before. But for neophytes like myself, they always are cool to see because they transition them so seamlessly. There's this double underhook bow tie hold he puts on, where he manages the whole time to keep his shoulders off.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look agonizing, but it's just so damn impressive.
Yep. Yeah, like that, I think that was one of the two submissions that I had in my notes, and I was like, I don't even know what to call this. Like, I'm just gonna, it's like, oh, another really cool submission from Dos Caras. And then he also did like a seated octopus that then turned into a surfboard. And it was like,
yeah,
huh?
And in my head, I just kept saying, man, that guy is really, an older gentleman to be kind of doing these really interesting transitions. And I think if I can say one thing about El Samurai is he definitely allows himself to be stretched in this match.
Yeah, he has no shame whatsoever on that
Yeah,
of just like do whatever you need to me.
and also no offense.
Yes.
A pile driver, a power bomb, and a drop kick in the corner, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, because he even so like he advances fairly far in the '94 Cup, and one of the things that he was using was the top rope Hurricane Rana, and he misses that, or he hits that here, but then misses the diving headbutt afterwards. So
I will say something about this match. If you like lucha strikes, you're gonna love this match.
yeah,
It is the epitome of not strong style, though.
yeah, yeah,
When you when you can't hear any strike, you're like, what's going on? Somewhere Inoki is weeping.
yeah.
For some of the strikes in this match.
But that being said, like it's nice in because since I did the '94 Cup as well, that was all. That was all really good matches, but it was all Japanese junior heavyweight style. Like, and not very, like, you had, like, a high flyer. Like, you had Taka, but he was just in the first round. And then he got eliminated. So, like, you didn't even have any, like, crazy high flyers. You had, like, Malenko for your submission style, but he works such a strong style that that fit in more. Whereas, yeah, like Dos Caras is a completely different style from everybody else in this tournament. And I think that's the differences in this one was put together by Ultimo Dragon, whereas the last one was put together by Liger.
I will say, the interesting thing too is I really feel like the J Cup before this is maybe a little more star-studded when you look from in hindsight, but this one, like as you were saying, is so style specific. There's just really interesting matchups across the board, and there's a lot of guys in this who can really bring different things to a match. I think I really with this one wish it was a little more give and take. I think they did really well with the time they had. I think they did really well like getting Dos Caras over. He's doing the lucha chant. He's over in that match, and Samurai, he does his part. He does what he's supposed to do. He gets in 3 little hope spots, and then he is doing the deed.
Yep. Yeah, Samurai like always seems like he's the type of wrestler that always rises to the level of his opponents. Like he's had really good matches with like Jushin Thunder Liger. But then, this match was kind of so-so. I've seen him have kind of terrible matches in the '94 Cup. So
yeah, I would agree with that. So I also think one of the things, I don't know what your thought on this. This was a match within the first 3 minutes. I was like, oh, Dos Caras is going over. Like,
yeah,
it was just like, it felt like it was Samurai was kind of going through the motions, and there was no passion behind it, which I really expected to be very different. However, I loved the post-match. So the upshot in the hallway with Dos Caras, and he is, again, he's ripped for an older guy. He's a big, thick dude, and he's so pumped about it. It adds such a layer of importance to the J Cup. And I thought so, too, at the beginning. I watched, like, the opening, like, 20 minutes of the show where they're just bouncing between people. I love that. It makes the tournament feel so important. It makes every match feel like, do or die. And I felt that too with El Samurai at the end. He doesn't even look up when they're interviewing him. He never makes eye contact. His head never raises. He seems so shamed by the loss.
Yeah.
So even though the match was just okay, I thought everything at the end, and Dos Caras doing what he did in the ring looked great. I didn't think it was a great match, but that post-match was fantastic. It proves that Japanese wrestling really has its fingers on the pulse to make everything seem so important all the time in these tournament settings.
Yep. Yeah, and Dos Caras would go on. So Dos Caras wins this match with actually a top rope crossbody.
What did you think of that, top rope?
I mean,
It was like, hey man, make sure you catch me so I don't hurt my knees.
yep. Yeah, like top rope crossbody. It was like, okay, cool. Like that was, yeah, it was like one of the safest looking top rope crossbodies. Yeah, you can tell who his brother is. Of like, oh yeah, you are Mil Mascaras' brother.
And that's exactly a point I wanted to make. He went to the Mil Mascaras School of Selling.
Yep. Yeah.
I think if you've seen a Mil Mascaras match, you go, oh, I can tell that these two are brothers and trained together.
Yep.
No yob. No yob.
Yeah. So yeah. So each match, we cover kind of where the loser ends up going. So El Samurai was actually the UWA junior heavyweight champion at this time. He didn't come out with the belt, which was kind of interesting to me. Probably because he knew he was losing right away. He would go on to win the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship from Great Sasuke later in 96 or in 97, and then lose it back to Sasuke during the J Crown tournament. And actually, El Samurai would be one of the very few holders of the full J Crown as well.
That makes me really want to see if he just steps his game up at some point, or if he's just matched up with great competition throughout that tournament.
Yeah, I think he beats Liger and then loses it to Sasuke or vice versa. But yeah, he has the title, or actually, I think he's the second to last person, and then loses it to Otani. You know, so. But the other question, which is always interesting, and won't be as surprising as the next episode we do, would you keep watching Dos Caras matches after this? Like, did he get you interested?
I think I would go backwards in his matchography when he's a little more spry and he is doing a little bit more high flying, because I know that was a part of his repertoire in the 60s or no 70s and 80s, I think, where he was
that's
kind of on top.
Right.
But I did enjoy I enjoy that Maestro style.
Yeah,
it's something that Chris Jordan introduced us to. And it's something he's very fond of, and I got to the point where I was like, this is got a really interesting dramatic flair, but at the same time I really do like submission wrestling. So I think I would. I think I would definitely try to find some CMLL or AAA work that he's done.
Yep.
Where he's a little bit more in his own environment with his contemporaries.
Cool. So then what are your like plugs, stuff you want to plug as we end this episode?
That's a great question, because generally the beard handles all the plugs because I can't remember anything. Okay. Heel Turn Radio, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, maybe MySpace. I don't handle any of that. D and D and the letter N, DDT, also on all those social media platforms. I think that's about it. I know that for me on our Heel Turn page, I will do some We Watched It when I get some wild hairs up my behind. Generally, I will do a lot of All Japan. So yeah, this is awesome to dive into this portion of light heavyweight New Japan.
Yeah, sweet. And then you can follow me at Knocked Out Films on kind of all social media stuff, knockedoutfilms.com. And I haven't even told you this yet. You can purchase the second issue of the Bad Light photo zine, which I apparently have pictures in. So
nice. Congrats, man.
Did not know that until I messaged Michael. Like I literally.
Are these mine?
Yeah. No, I like reshared the link because we've got a ton of contributors from like all around the world for that magazine. And so I wasn't in the first one, so I just, resent the link out, support my friends and all that stuff. And he's like, And it was like, oh, all these awesome photographers are a part of it. And he's like, dude, you do know you're one of them, right? He's like, what? I'm like, what? What?
That is tremendous.
So yeah, that I think it's Brainbuster at bigcartel.com. I'll have the link in the description down below. So thank you for joining this episode. We'll be back next week.